Hi, my name's Matt and I'm the Children's and Youth Worker from All Saints Church. This week for our daily devotionals, we're going to be looking at some of the issues that kids, youth and adults face in their day-to-day lives. Things like self-worth and self-image, what we think of ourselves and what does God think of us. So we're going to be looking today at self-image, and we're going to be looking at John chapter 4, 1 to 30, which is a story about Jesus meeting a Samaritan woman. I'm going to read it for you quickly now. The Pharisees heard that Jesus was gaining and baptizing more disciples than John, although in fact it was not Jesus who baptized, but his disciples. When the Lord learned of this, he left Judea and went back once more to Galilee. Now he had to go through Samaria, so he came to a town in Samaria called Sychar, near the plot of ground that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down by the well. It was about the 6th hour, or midday. When a Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" His disciples had gone into town for food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew, and I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?" For Jews did not associate with the Samaritans. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you that living water." "Sir," the woman said, "you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well and drank from it himself, as did also his sons and his flocks and his herds?" Jesus answered, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give him will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give him will become in him a spring of water, welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I won't go thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water." He told her, "Go, call your husband and come back." "I have no husband," she replied. Jesus said to her, "You are right when you say you have no husband. The fact is you have had 5 husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband. What you have said just now is quite true." "Sir," the woman said, "I can see that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is in Jerusalem." Jesus declared, "Believe me, woman, a time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship where you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. Yet a time is coming, and has now come, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for they are the kind of worshippers that the Father seeks. God is spirit, and his worshippers must worship in spirit and in truth." The woman says, "I know that the Messiah, called Christ, is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us." Then Jesus declared, "I who speak to you am he." Just then his disciples returned, and they were surprised to find him talking with a woman, but no one asked, "What do you want?" or "Why are you talking with her?" Then leaving her water jar, the woman went back to the town and said to the people, "Come, see, a man who has told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Christ?" They came out of town and they made their way towards him. So we have no way of knowing what this woman's self-worth was like, but there are some clues that show us that she didn't fit in easily into her community. Those are that she was collecting water on her own. She was collecting it at a strange time of the day, in the middle of the day. So usually water collecting would be a very sociable activity when everyone would chat as they worked, and people would normally collect it right at the beginning of the day so they had water all through the day and that it was cool and cold. Because if you collect it in the middle of the day, as we've experienced with our lovely heat waves recently, it can get very hot. So she obviously didn't want to be with lots of her neighbours. She didn't want to bump into people. She was a bit of an outcast. We also find out that she had 5 husbands and was living with someone who wasn't even her husband. And again, this wasn't typical behaviour for people at the time. So Jesus did something quite radical in verses 7 and 9. What he did was he spoke to this woman in public, and what's more, she was a Samaritan, and he asked for a drink, thereby putting himself in her debt. Now, it was social suicide and political suicide for the Jews and the Samaritans to mix together, so that was bad enough. But it was also the fact that she was a social outcast as well, and he would have known that by seeing this unusual scene of her being there on her own in the middle of the day. But Jesus decided to humble himself to her, and he said, look, can you give me a drink? And that thereby puts him in her debt. How do you think that Jesus knew that she had 5 husbands? Well, it's explained almost straight afterwards. She says, you must be a prophet. You must be connected with God. And he's used this situation to build a level of trust with her and to sort of show her that he is in touch with God. So if we look at this situation and we look at the beginning and the end, how do you think the woman felt after the conversation? At the beginning, we meet her as a social outcast, and she's there on her own. She bumps into this person who she's not meant to socialise with, and she points that out immediately. And at the end of the conversation, we have her there with a group of people. She runs off. She goes and gets all of her friends and neighbours, and she says, you've got to come. I know you don't potentially like me. I know we're not, close, but you've got to come. I've got a message for you. She runs off with all of this excitement, and she's demanding of people, you need to come and meet this person. I think they are the Christ. What's surprising about that is that in this short conversation, Jesus has taken somebody who must have felt like they were an outcast and felt that they couldn't spend time with people, and turned her into someone who is eager and running to go and talk to people and tell them about God. Jesus treated this woman as an individual of great value. He talked to her, he accepted her, and even though she had a shady past, even though he knew that she wasn't worthy, he gave her a task to do of spreading the word about him to her community. He gave her valuable information that the other people in her community would want to know. He increased her status. I want you to reflect on this. I want you to reflect on what it means for the way that Jesus will treat us, and on the way that we should treat other people. What this story does is it shows that Jesus treats us as individuals, that God values all of us, whether we be great politicians, whether we be great leaders, whether we feel like nobodies and social outcasts. Everyone has a place in God's kingdom. Everyone has a use in God's kingdom. And when we're in Christianity, when we have a faith with God, we should know that our self-image should be huge, because God thinks that we're huge and he loves us so much. I want you to go away this week and reflect on that, and reflect on what you think of yourself and what do you think God thinks of you. Because from reading this short story and from what we're going to do as we go forward for the rest of the week, hopefully you'll know that God truly loves you and thinks the world of you.